Hey y'all, tonight I'm going to try to wrap up a project that I've been working on for several days, if not weeks. And that is to see if I can improve a picture that I took last year, which was a sort of a close-up picture of Orion. And I really want to see if I can improve and get more details out of that picture. If you didn't hear any of that because it's so windy, I'm down here and I'm going to look up at Orion. So let's do it. So a year ago, I took a picture of Orion using my Astro-Tech AT-115 EDT and my Canon 60D DSLR. And it turned out to be the perfect pair because with 805 millimeters of focal length paired with a APS-C sensor size, I was actually get really close to Orion, but not cutting off its surrounding nebulosity. So it was really the perfect pairing. Some people, they like to try to capture as many deep sky objects as they can within a year or within the season. I'm not one of those people. I like to focus my attention on one very specific target and do the best that I can. And this is the case with this particular Orion session that I'm going to be having because, you know, I don't have it all on camera yet, but I've actually spent maybe 2 to 3 weeks trying to complete this session. This project using my Canon 60D and my Astro-Tech 115. And the reason why it's taking so long is because, believe it or not, despite its popularity, I personally think that Orion is one of the most difficult target to capture faithfully. And I say that because within this one target, there are regions of reflection nebulae with gases that are just reflecting surrounding starlight, and also emission nebulae, gases that are excited and they're actually emitting their own light. And to faithfully capture this image, you really have to combine both narrowband data for the hydrogen alpha that are coming off of the emission nebulae and the broadband data that are coming off of the reflection. Well, blah, blah. It's really cold. The wind chill is blah. Anyways, as I was saying, you want to make sure you are able to capture both the hydrogen alpha emission and also the reflection nebulae that are coming off of starlight. So to make it even more complicated, there's a third layer, and that third layer is the core of the Orion, the trapezium, which is probably basically as bright as, no, I think it's probably brighter than most stars. That object is so bright that it's extremely easy for the core or the trapezium to be blown out. And what that really means is that the image becomes all white. You cannot tell any details because the entire core is as white as my Astro-Tech telescope. So that is why I personally think that the Orion Nebula is a very difficult object to do faithfully. Yes, it's easy to find, it's easy to capture, but to do it faithfully, I think it's pretty difficult. And I'm going to try to improve upon the image that I took last year using using the identical setup. So hopefully you'll stick around for that. I need to learn how to produce body heat. If I'm going to keep talking out here, I'm going to put some gloves on because my fingers are frozen. Yes, I am a complete wimp when it comes to the cold because I get cold very easily. Anyways, so I took this picture from last year, and I made a video about this particular picture, and it took me, I think, something close to like 13 or maybe even 14 hours to complete. And what I did here was I did exactly what I described earlier, and that was to combine the broadband data that I was able to capture and combine that with the narrowband data using the optical extreme. And I also try to combine a session of core trapezium data in there. Unfortunately, I think the core was captured at maybe 20 seconds at ISO 800. And as you can see, there's still not a lot of great detail. There's some, and I sort of, maybe this is not rational or logical, but I just sort of came to the realization that, whatever you think the proper exposure is for the trapezium, the core of Orion, whatever you think it is, divide that by 4, and you may be able to capture the core, the true detail of the trapezium, the core of the Orion. And that is actually the session that I'm setting up tonight. I'm already done with the narrowband data for this project. I'm already done with the broadband data for this project. I've been waiting for the moon to sort of get out of the way so I can capture the trapezium with the help of my Optilon L Pro filter to help me block out some of the light pollution around me. And now I go into why Orion is, kind of a difficult target to image. So one of the main reasons why, by the way, I don't know if you guys can see my face because I'm essentially recording the sky, it's so bright, but who cares? You don't need to see my face. So one of the main reasons why I think Orion is a very difficult target to image is because of its location in the night sky. It's one of those objects where it's not that high in the night sky. As a matter of fact, I'm going to try to trace where I think Orion would be as it goes on the night. Yeah, so Orion is probably going to follow this line that I'm trying to. I have no spatial awareness, as you can see, but this is about as high as Orion gets for me. And so because I live in an urban area, being this low in the night sky means that I have a lot of obstructions around me, as you can see. So my window is really from spatial awareness, here we go, activated, right? So my time with Orion is essentially from where my fist is right here, just about here. And that's not a lot of time on any given night. So that makes it difficult for me to gather data for Orion. And another reason why I think Orion is a difficult target to image, especially if you're from an urban light polluted area, is because being this low in the night sky, you're gonna have to deal with a lot of light pollution. I am freezing. Good God. Sorry, this video is gonna be kind of choppy, but I'm cold. So being this low in the night sky, you're gonna have to deal with a lot of light pollution. And the Optilon L Pro is a great broadband filter, but it's still not gonna be optimal. But you know what? This is the best that I can do with being in San Francisco. So, and I've seen some of the broadband data that I've already collected, and they look promising. And so I'm sure that tonight, well, if the cloud goes away, it's still gonna work out for me, and I'm super excited about it. So tonight's plan, I'm only gonna focus on the trapezium, the core of Orion, because as I mentioned earlier, I'm pretty much done with the broadband data that I need to collect. I'm pretty much done with the narrowband data that I need to collect. And I waited this long to capture the core because I needed to wait out the moon. Now, the moon right now is still like 90%. But the good thing is, if I can set everything up early enough, I can actually beat the moon and start imaging before it starts to rise above the horizon. I think tonight the moon is going to rise maybe 9:30 or 10 p.m. So I have at least, I want to say at least 2 hours of moon-free imaging time. So I'm definitely going to take advantage of that. And the core of the Orion is mostly reflected starlight. So that's why you need to make sure that when you're doing the core of the Orion Nebula, that you do it on a night without the moon's interference. And because it's so bright, the last time I did this, I used 20 seconds, ISO 800. I'm sorry if my voice is breaking up because it is really cold. I need to put on some more layers. The last time I did this, I think I took 20 seconds at ISO 800, and that was still too bright. So I think what I'm going to do this time around, I'm going to do 5 seconds at ISO 800. That's crazy. 5 seconds for a deep sky object. Well, you'll be the first to find out how it looks. Now I just need to wait for nightfall, and I am freezing, so I want to get some ramen. That has nothing to do with astrophotography, but I like ramen. All right, guys, so it's about 11 p.m. right now, and to be quite honest with you, I couldn't have picked a better night to do the core of Orion and still have a useful night of astrophotography. That is because despite being a clear night, this is probably the worst conditions that I could ever image under because it is so windy. And Chunky over here with his sort of a larger size telescope under windy conditions is going to act like a giant wind sail, and that is exactly what's happening right now. I mean, I'm guiding, but when you look at my my graph, I might as well not be guiding anymore because I don't think I can call this guiding. I'm also not dithering because at 5 seconds of exposure, it will like the mount will never settle because if I image for 5 seconds and dither for another like 10 seconds, it makes no sense. And Kitty is asleep because it's too windy and it's too cold. So, however, I am underway taking pictures of the core of the Orion Nebula using only 5 seconds of exposure at ISO 800. Looking forward to this. I think it'll work out. And like I said, I couldn't have picked a better night and be still useful because it is way too windy tonight. Had this been a 5 minutes exposure, there's no way I could have pulled that off tonight. Whew, it's cold. I'm gonna go back inside. Before I go back inside, I do want to express this at the very least. When I look up in the night sky, 11 p.m., 11:30 p.m., in my mind is super early in the night, but I'm already starting to see Orion dip towards the horizon, and that makes me sad because it marks the end of my favorite season to do astrophotography, which is the winter season with its cold. Don't get me wrong, I'm complaining about the cold, but there's nothing like it to image under a crisp and cold night, and not to mention a long night. And I'm a little sad that, well, this season I didn't get a whole lot done. We didn't get too many. We didn't get too many clear nights. I was a little too busy. I had a lot of equipment issues. Oh my God! I was telling my friends that I practically threw away my entire February's worth of data. So, you know, if tonight works out, this picture of Orion will probably be my first completed session in a long time. So yeah, just standing out here, starting to become an icicle, and just sort of thinking back and how I wish this winter season would have gone differently. Okay, now I'm going back inside because I am cold. We're coming up to the end of the night here. As you can see, I'm just doing my flats. Oh, maybe my flats are already done. But anyways, hopefully that if everything goes right, tonight would have been my final night with the great Orion Nebula. And I hope that, you know, if you are watching this and you're just getting into astrophotography, or you've been doing this for a while and you are looking for ways to improve, whether you're a beginner or you've been doing this for a long time, don't be afraid to revisit some of your old projects, and, you know, take some time to look at your older projects, you know, whether they were good ones or bad ones. Pick the one that you really liked and give it some thoughts. Spend some time with that project. Spend some time looking at your own photos and think to yourself, this was pretty good, but what else can I improve upon it? Because I guarantee you that when you revisit a lot of your old pictures, a lot of your old projects, you're gonna see things that, you know, that you may not like, or you're gonna see things that, you know what, I could do this a little better. And this was the case for me. Honestly, as soon as I finished the Orion project from last year, I knew immediately that I noticed, wow, the core doesn't have a whole lot of definition there. I mean, it looks like one big bright spot. And so throughout the year, I was thinking about, how could I improve upon this? Because I honestly thought that my Orion picture from last year, I thought it was pretty good already. It was certainly one of the better ones that I was able to take at the time. And so I was thinking to myself, if I can improve this picture, which was my best at the time, if I could improve 1% of that, that would all trickle down into everything else that I do moving forward. So that's why I was super looking forward to this project, and to be able to hopefully wrap up tonight, because I'm running out of time with Orion. And also I do need to move on to other stuff, because winter season is, I don't have too much time left. I think I had maybe 3 weeks at most with the winter objects, and then they're gonna be gone for another 10 months or so. So I hope that you found this video useful. Don't be afraid to revisit your old projects and, you know, analyze what you can improve upon, and, you know, come up with a concrete plan. Something simple. Change one thing at a time. Don't change everything about the project. Just change one thing, and I think that you're gonna have a lot of fun. And I think this will be an easy and fun way to make progress in your astrophotography journey. So hopefully you found that useful, and I wish you all good health. And until next time, clear skies and take care, everybody. Bye.